Wally program. And now your host, Wally.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Brock Wally program. My name is Brock Wally. To my audience, I apologize. I know I've been MIA while you're taking shrapnel in the Civil War. Certainly, it is a soft civil war in your nation. I mean, it's just abundantly clear that you have two nations. It's abundantly clear. I don't know why we all have to sort of parse our words when it's just as transparent and obvious as can be. Democrat Party in 2017 has absolutely, and I want to say this unequivocally, has absolutely no respect for the election, has no respect for the sitting president, has absolutely no respect for law, has no respect for precedent. It is pure, they lost, and they are conducting what, by all measures, is a takeover, subtly, with their media agents, with their Democrat scumbags that are willing to slander and libel and defame at will. They have very, very, very powerful cultural and media enterprises that can just push any narrative that they completely make up. And make no mistake, these are this is made up nonsense. And as you actually do any research, which of course millions and millions of Americans will never do, as you do any research, you realize not only is this stuff made up, out of whole cloth, it is largely projection away from merited claims, particularly in the area of Russia, which we will go over today. Merited, fact-based, provable claims of the Democrat Party actually having substantial, traceable, provable ties financially, lobbying, power brokering in Washington, D.C. to Russia. It is made up. It is nonsense. It is fiction. And its entire purpose is nothing more than to undermine a president that the American people voted for, not just voted for, in an astonishing election that pushed back on establishment, corrupt, swampy, horrible power. And we're going to get to that too. But that just needs to be said on the out. All the rest of the stuff we're going to cover is just substantive, supportive stuff to that statement. But that proves true in its entirety. This is made up nonsense. Fiction. Parades, puppet show, made up. It's infuriating. It's infuriating as the nation is actually dealing with real things. The entirety of the Democrat Party is good for nothing, but completely and totally fictionalizing the world in a desperate scramble for not elected power, not willed power at the ballot box, but manipulated power. Deceit, corruption, lies. That's what they're doing. Let's go over some of these details. Ladies and gentlemen, what a lot of people don't realize about D.C., Trump's very wise to use very populist Joe Sixpack terminology, drain the swamp. What the guy means by that is K Street lobbyists, politicians, bureaucrats. The symbol of Washington influencing, peddling power, pushing favors, guys, pushing subsidies, pushing exceptions, pushing special treatment for their clients and the people that write the checks. Their customers include domestic clients, of course, but foreign governments for sure. Oligarchies, fugitive spectators. And what I mean by that is financial spectators. What I mean by that is futurists. What I mean by that is people that are pushing their money into a certain area and then having K Street or all the lobbyists or all the bureaucrats, or in many cases, just a big government, horrid, this consists of the GOP and the Democratic Party, empty, tailored suit, crusty villains out of like a comic book. That's what they're doing. They trade their access, they trade their power, they trade their influence. Former aides, former politicians sometimes that now become lobbyists. By the way, Trump is openly, rhetorically saying we need to deal with that. Bravo to him. They trade that access. They trade that power for money. They get paid massive amounts of money. And then they get to buy tailored suits. Then they get to eat at the 5-star Washington, D.C. restaurants. They get to send their kids to private schools. And they got you. They got you. What you see Trump doing Trump's administration is a wrecking ball to this system. Wrap your mind around this, okay? Imagine, if you need a mental picture, just a snake, a serpent nest. Serpents slithering everywhere. Trump is coming in and spraying toxicity, spraying death, spraying Agent Orange on that rat's nest, spraying Agent Orange on that serpent's nest. And the hissing that you hear, when you hear stuff like Russia or Jeff Sessions, it's just hissing. It's the hissing of these snakes as Trump's power is sending down death chemicals on them. So as Trump tries to fulfill his power, Trump takes his power, tries to fulfill his campaign promises, drain the swamp. These influential peddlers, these people that sell you out, they're under attack. So what does the media do? See, a fourth estate would look out for you, right? It's supposed to turn to power. It's supposed to look out for you. The guy laying brick, the guy doing plumbing, the guy doing construction, the guy driving a truck. What are they doing? They're not looking out for you. They're looking out for the K Street. They're looking out for the politicians. They're all friends, by the way. They all marry each other. Sometimes they even take jobs, like Stephanopoulos, in the media as soon as they're done being a hack. They're not looking out for you. They're not a media organization. They're an arm of the state. Trump is outside of the state. So the latest line of pure fiction is that somehow Trump is like a puppet, a Manchurian candidate for the Kremlin. Of course, zero evidence is applied to this. In the case of Sessions, I'm going to give you an example. I'm assuming in this example that you work at the state penitentiary. I'm serious about this. This is a watertight, apples to apples comparison of what is transpiring right now. You, my listener, work at the prison closest to where you live. I am the horrid, soulless Democrat, or the reptilian media, quote unquote media journalist. I am essentially making this claim. You, my listener, work at the prison. You obviously have meetings. Occasionally you rub shoulders with. Maybe you even talk in many cases probably because your boss makes you. You maybe talk to people who have been convicted of pedophilia. What are you? We need a private investigator. We need a panel. We need the hound nose of the investigative branch of the government to start sniffing around. What power shaking, what moving, what influencing are you doing for pedophiles? For MAMBLA? For pedophiles globally? We can't know. We can't possibly know until we have a private investigator that looks into things. After all, we know for a fact that you have dealings and you've had a conversation with pedophiles at your job. Now, granted, your job makes you rub shoulders with these people, and it's just absolutely baked into the cake that of course you would have conversations and meetings with these people, but the accusation's out there now. I just made it. You see what I mean? You're doing the bidding of pedophiles nationwide, and we've got to get to the bottom of this. And if you don't agree with me, if you don't care, you're not looking out for the nation and all these kids that are prey to these pedophiles. Do you understand this? And to discuss this any further is preposterous, because I just made the claim. And the claim in and of itself should merit all kinds of action. Do you not understand this? Do you not agree with this? What kind of person are you that you don't agree with this? That is what is happening to Jeff Sessions, and in my opinion, that is what happened to General Flynn as well. It's exactly what happened. Zero evidence, zero merit, there is zero evidence that anything happened with the Russians on any level from anybody in the administration ever. It's all just claims. It's all just nonsense. It's all just smokescreen. It's Jenga sets of allegations stacked upon each other, wobbly as can be. I'll tell you what isn't an allegation at all. The list of reprehensible Kremlin-associated figures who are proven to be in the inner circles, the inner workings of the Democrat Party. That's a true. Democrat top dogs engaged in large, multifaceted levels of Kremlin bidding, Kremlin influence. So the media targets on, so this Trump myth, right? That's they're pouncing because after all, that's their job. You hear them say that, right? What you don't ever hear them say is that they are holding, as they're broadcasting to use, they are holding in their hands extensive, lucrative business relationships. They know this, by the way, top Democrats with Kremlin associates, companies, oligarchs. Something came out a while ago called the Panama Papers, and in that we realized that Podesta's group, who is, by the way, the campaign freaking manager of the last Democratic candidate, Hillary Clinton, the campaign manager's brother, his family, the Podesta group, lobbied for Russia's largest bank. Sberbank is basically the Kremlin. They do exactly what Putin says, and they never say no. And this is all proven. Podesta gets paid $900,000 a year to lobby for these guys. Podesta's group, by the way, is the group that represented Uranium One. This is by, if you're paying attention to anything factually, you know about this. Hillary Clinton's State Department allowed Russia to mine almost 25% of America's uranium. This is New York Times reported, by the way. That same organization, Uranium One, gives Hillary Clinton $500,000 per speech, multiple speeches. This is directly tied to the Kremlin. They're giving uranium. You know, there is a very limited amount of uranium on this planet. Largely, you use uranium for massive destruction weapons. Hillary Clinton this is not even disputable. You're not going to hear a politician. You're not going to hear a reporter. You're not going to hear anybody dispute this. You're just not going to hear them talk about it. She sets up a deal while Secretary of State. She leverages her position as Secretary of State. This is proven. To give away American uranium. And we're talking about Jeff Sessions, who met with a diplomat from Russia, which, by the way, was ordered to do that from the Obama White House. Did you know that? 25 other members of Congress met with that diplomat the same day. And this is an issue. This is where your media is focusing on. Ladies and gentlemen, Lanny Davis, the biggest heavyweight Democratic lawyer, the biggest in Washington, D.C., representing dozens of Putin's thug, hellhole people in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, one of them stole billions of dollars from the people that Lanny Davis is representing stole billions of dollars from the Ukrainian people. He also, Obama's White House also allowed weapons that were going to go to Ukrainian freedom fighters from the Russian government to actually be diverted into Kremlin thugs who were invading that nation. By the way, the quote-unquote report, and by now you might have heard about that, Trump likes golden showers, Trump this, Russia that. It's supposedly by this, we hear it's this German, espionage spy, but not one, industrious reporter in America tracks this guy down. The big story. Nobody has any idea who this guy is. We're just told it's this guy. Nobody knows. Not one reporter decides to go find out if this guy, first of all, exists, if any of this is true. By the way, all of this is based on this guy's scribblings. None of it verified. Not one word of it verified. They're just making the allegation, and then the allegation sits out there as substantive, and then they just keep referring to the allegation, much like my pedophilia example. Ladies and gentlemen, this goes on and on and on. The drumbeat of Russia connections is totally made up. It's fake. It's fiction. The Trump administration hasn't been proven to do anything with Russia, nor do I believe it, by the way, just on an instinctual level, just for the record. K Street lobbyists, by the way, are soaked in Russia influence. Democrat Party, soaked in Russia influence, greasing the skids, strategic deals. Secretary of State, approving deals for the Kremlin in uranium supplies. These are provable. This is fact. Ladies and gentlemen, when Trump says drain the swamp, it is a swamp. And every single bureaucrat that you see out there barking and making accusations, this is the most important thing of this podcast. They don't care about you. They don't care about your family. They don't care about the economy. And I'm making the case they don't even care about this country. They care about their own power. They care about keeping things the way they are. And Trump is an imminent threat to them. That is why the attack's happening. Allow them to roll off of your mind and your influence like water off a duck's back. It's total nonsense. The state, the swamp, the bureaucrats, the government as it was before Trump is your enemy. These people are all up in arms because he poses a legitimate threat. He's the one in Washington on your side. I'm not saying he's squeaky clean, but this stuff is nonsense, and it's going to be trickle, 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 unprovable. Just trickle, 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 trickle. You're a pedophile after all. You work at that. Don't you work at that prison? There was a couple convicted pedophiles in there. I know you rubbed shoulders with them. You might have even bred with them. I think you might have even had a conversation with them. Clearly, you're doing business with the world of pedophilia. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what you're dealing with here. When you see this much Washington power all aligning their arsenal at one entity, you know that entity is somebody that's potentially a threat to them. And if it's a threat to them, it's on your side. Thank you for listening to the Brock Lawley program.
Democrats will regret the power grab.
À Brock Lawley Productions.